Good evening, everyone. How is everyone doing? Welcome to the Understanding Behavior live stream. I am excited to be here. We've got a great presentation tonight. We are going to go over verbal behavior. So yeah, it should be a blast. I'm excited to get into this. How's everyone doing tonight? I know we had some people saying that they were new showing up for the first time. So welcome if this is your first time coming. If you don't know me, my name is Nick. I've been a BCBA for 7 years now. I've been teaching test prep for almost 6 of those. And it's it's kind of my thing. I really like it. I'm a total bona fide behavior nerd is what I would call myself. Well, anyway, today we are going to go over verbal behavior. We're going to get a little bit into a history lesson, talk about the 1958 text from Skinner. I usually have my copy next to me to show off and be like, hey, I'm a nerd. I was just looking at this. But I have it on my shelf today. But yeah, it should be a great presentation, and we'll go over some things that are tricky, some things that are actually taught incorrectly sometimes, so we'll fix those and make sure that you have it correct. And then we'll also go over how the exam is going to trick you, how the exam is going to trick you, and then towards the end we'll have a quiz on our verbal operants as well. Yay, Jackie, good to see you here. I've been seeing your name around. I'm glad that you're here live. Awesome. Welcome. So if you've been to my presentations before, if you haven't, and this is your first time, you'll know that I'm a really big proponent of active responding. The more active you are, the more that you are going to learn and take out of these lessons. So make sure you are responding to get the most out of each of these learning opportunities. And then at some point during the stream, we'll probably give away a mock exam. So stay tuned for that and make sure that you're here live, because that could happen really at any point. We'll give away a copy of the Beat the Beast mock exam today at some point during the stream. It's an awesome mock exam if you haven't checked it out yet. What's really nice is that it has a scoring scale for like how confident you should be depending on how you score on your first attempt. If you get an 80% or higher, you are money back guaranteed to pass the exam. And right now we have a 100% pass rate if for students that have scored 80% or higher on their exam. So really cool. We'll give away a copy of that tonight. And then if you haven't checked it out, we also have mini mocks from Understanding Behavior. We've got some links in the chat above if you want to check those out. If you scroll down here, what's really nice is that there are 2 free mini mocks that you can try out. So 25 question mini mocks. These mocks, they are no joke. So there's no filler questions in here. This is just tough, thorough, deep scenarios that will make you think. So give them a try if you want to give it a go. Again, to sign up for these is totally free. All you have to do is click on the link above and then sign up, and the mocks will come up right there. And if you want to continue, we have mini mocks over each section that you can purchase as well. Perfect. Awesome. Lots of first timers here. Perfect. Welcome, Michelle, Tiffany, Taylor, Kira. Glad to have you all here. Where are you guys from? I'm from Denver, Colorado. It's actually been kind of nice over here. We're getting some rain finally. Yeah, of course, Ashley. I know there's a lot of shoddy content out there, so want to get you guys some easy access to some good resources. Cool. I'm originally from Michigan, so boo Ohio, but I'm good to have you here, Taylor. Kira from Chicago. Oh, sweet. Yeah, I'm very familiar with Chicago. My brother lives there. Awesome. Ashley from Raleigh. Awesome. Oh, Tiffany, you work with Crystal? That is awesome. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. If you don't know, Crystal is one of our study leaders. She usually hosts the Monday and Wednesday groups. She's on a very well-deserved vacation right now, so I'm taking over this Wednesday. And then usually we do our streams on Thursday, but I am actually off tomorrow and Friday, so we are canceling stream tomorrow. But then it does remind me, on Saturday we are also having another stream that is going to be at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. We are doing another behavior binge bonanza. So what's really nice about about the behavior binge bonanzas is that the viewers get to choose the topics. So if you're here early, you get to choose the topics, and we do like a more free-for-all. And sometimes we get like, I feel like we get a little bit deeper into some of these concepts when we do the behavior binge bonanza. We get like real nerdy there. Also, if you want to help support the channel, real quick free way to do so is just smash that like button on the video. That always makes my heart sing when we see that number get higher. We only got 2 likes right now. That's not very many, but thanks so much for everybody doing that right now. For sure. Well, hopefully that lines up soon, Nikki. Would love to have you at the Bonanza. Maybe we'll do a Sunday soon if that makes it easier. My life's just been crazy recently. All right, let's get right into our presentation. Great to have you all here. Let's go. Here's our agenda. So first we're going to talk about what is verbal behavior. We'll talk a little bit about the difference between form and function of behavior, which is super important. I think really distinguishes a behavior analytic perspective of language from other perspectives of language. We'll talk about the difference between verbal versus vocal. Then we'll talk about audience versus speaker roles and how those differ. Then we'll do a little bit of a breakdown of each of the verbal operants. We'll talk about formal similarity versus point-to-point correspondence. For some reason, I always do it with a 2, but it like, definitely should not be a 2, or it doesn't need to be a 2. It should be a T. But anyway, and then we'll talk about tricky types of questions, and then I'm going to try to trick you in my quiz. All right, so what is verbal behavior? This was the text. I thought it was 58 for some reason, but it is a 57 according to my notes here. And the really revolutionary thing about Skinner's verbal behavior is that he started to look at the function of verbal behavior rather than just the form of it. So more than just like what language looks like, but how do people use language in their environment? So Skinner defines verbal behavior as behavior that's reinforced through the mediation of other persons. So that means that this is socially mediated consequences. And he also adds, these other persons must be responding in ways which have been conditioned precisely in order to reinforce the behavior of the speaker. So essentially, it's a socially mediated behavior where the people who are mediating behavior are like intentionally doing so or responding in with a past history of reinforcement to do so. So this is his definition. And really, if you think about his definition, a lot of things can be classified as verbal behavior, like even like a dog's verbal behavior. So like, for example, like my dog, like she will kind of like sniff at her bowl a little bit extra when she's really hungry and then kind of like look at me. So if we think about it, it fits this definition. So her behavior, it's reinforced through the mediation of other persons. So like my behavior, that's I'm other persons. These other persons, they're responding in ways which have been conditioned precisely in order to reinforce the behavior of the speaker. So an untrained person, like somebody less familiar with my dog, might not know that request where she's like looking over, but I know it right away when she's looking over. So I'm precisely trained to provide her food when she engages in similar responses in this response class. Let's talk about function versus form of language. Anybody want to try to get this in chat first before we talk about it? So what's the difference between function and form of behavior? Yeah, Lillian says like dog has trained her by the type of bark that he uses. So yeah, again, like I wouldn't necessarily be trained in that way because like I'm just not familiar with her dog. But since she has that history with her dog and knows like their intentions and reinforcement history, then then you can kind of like parse that out a little bit better. All right, so I'm loving the responding in chat. You'd love to see the new people responding here too. Good, yeah, Jackie, I like what you're talking about there. So function, some people were saying like how it impacts the environment. Like what? Let's be a little bit more specific. Like what do we mean like impact on the environment? So like what way does it do this, and what is happening? Anybody want to expand on that? You guys are nailing form. So form is what that behavior looks like. Yeah, like the physical properties of the language. Good. Okay, I like Taylor's going like the function is like the purpose of the behavior. Okay, okay. So what is the purpose of behavior? Why does behavior occur? Anybody want to try that? Why does behavior occur? Yeah, Michelle on that, like why this again, like why a behavior happens, but why does behavior happen again? Anybody remember? It's a really fancy R word. We use it a lot. Yeah, Nikki's the first one to get it. Perfect. Receive some kind of reinforcement. So the function of the behavior is going to be like what kind of reinforcement is maintaining the behavior. Good. So let's dive a little bit deeper here. Form, what the behavior looks like. So this could be like the type of verbal utterance. Some examples of this could either be a vocal response, so speech. It could be a sign, so everybody knows the bird, for example. Oh, sorry, I didn't actually mean to do that to an audience. But we also have text, so like text communicates something. And we can also have icons. So if you see like a stop sign, for example, that communicates something very clear. And we're looking at form. We're also like breaking down like what words are being used, what are the phonemes being used, what grammar is being used, etc. That's part of the form of the response. When we're looking at function of the response, this is the history of context and consequences for our verbal responses. So again, we really want to focus on that consequence, the reinforcement history behind the response is what we're looking at with function. Verbal Behavior was a pretty profound book. So when it first came out, it like didn't really have that big of an impact, but later on when it was picked up by a behavior analyst named Jack Michael, and that's when it became really, really popular. And a lot of our assessments today, like the VB map and the ABLES, for example, were based off of Skinner's verbal behavior. So if you know Mark Sundberg, he's the person who wrote the VB map. He was a student of Jack Michael. And again, Jack Michael was the person who picked up Skinner's verbal behavior and saw more applicable applications for it. Or saw more like socially valid applications for it, rather. So what verbal behavior did is that it shifted the linguistic perspective to include both form and function. So previously, before verbal behavior was around, a lot of linguists would only look at the form of behavior. So like what words are they using and why are they using these words? And less about like the function, so about like the context, and less about the why, and more about like what they're saying, and like seeing like if their words are precisely like communicating, and only really focusing on that. Another really big impact of verbal behavior is that a lot of people at first thought that language was innate, that humans are just special, and that's we're like the only beings to communicate. And verbal behavior was to show that language is not necessarily innate, but it is learned, and it can be explained through environmental contingencies. Noam Chomsky, so he is a pretty prominent philosopher. He's still around, but he was Skinner's biggest critic of verbal behavior. And this is why verbal behavior really didn't get to launch off for a while. Is because Chomsky read it, and he made some just like kind of bad arguments against his text without like fully comprehending what Skinner was actually saying. And he actually like really shut down verbal behavior, and that's why it took so long for it to like be a well-respected piece of work. And verbal behavior, it's one of Skinner's works that is not experimental at all. This is purely a conceptual work, which is very different for Skinner. Skinner is very rigorous in his testing of principles usually, but verbal behavior is like, I just need to get these ideas out, and I think they're accurate based off of all my observations and study of behavior, but I'm just going to give it a go. But Noam Chomsky, he kind of missed the point of verbal behavior, And he argued against this whole like language could be learned kind of thing. And instead, he'd argue that humans are just really special and we have some kind of language acquisition apparatus inside of us. And that's why we're special. That's why we communicate so much better than any other species. I was like, come on, like, we're scientists, like, we can do so much better than that. Like, he just gave you like this huge, complex, brilliant, eloquent argument for like how language can be constructed and learned through environmental contingencies. And then Skinner and Chomsky's just like, no, that's wrong. It's definitely the language acquisition apparatus. It's gotta be it. And people really respect Chomsky. Like, this is not just like some Joe Schmo dude. Like, this is a really well-respected guy to this day. I guess like a little less well-respected to this in these days. So fun fact we'll leave off is that Chomsky was recently found donating money to Epstein. So, I mean, we'll just use that information how you will. Let's move on from our history lesson and get more into verbal behavior. So one thing I want to make a distinction between is the difference between vocal and verbal. When we're talking about vocal behavior, this means that it's produced by the vocal cords. I always think like that's the easiest way to remember. It's just like vocal cords. It's pretty straightforward. When we're talking about verbal behavior, this is a wider category of behavior, and we're looking at all communication mediated by another individual and fit the terms of Skinner's definition that we discussed previously. Perfect. All right, let's talk about the difference between audience and speaker. So when we're looking at a verbal behavior contingency, we're always framing the contingency around the speaker, which makes sense because when we're doing an ABC diagram, we're always framing it in the behavior of the individual that we're looking at. We'd have to do like the same kind of perspective taking when we're looking at our contingencies. So your verbal behavior, that's going to be stimuli to me. But when we're analyzing, when we're analyzing your verbal behavior, then my verbal behavior is going to be stimuli to you. So it all depends on that perspective that we're taking and whose behavior we're actually analyzing. When we're talking about an audience, this can be your current audience or it can be a broader verbal community. So obviously your current audience would be the people that are right in front of you or that you're immediately contacting with. And then a broader verbal community would be like all English speakers or all people from Denver or all Coloradans or all Midwesterners. So that would be like a broader verbal community. When we're looking at like our different audiences can have different stimulus control of verbal behavior. So for example, like when you're around your grandma, you may swear less frequently than if you're with your friends. So that is kind of like some stimulus control, but it's like, hey, it's the elderly. They don't want to hear all that sailor talk over here. So maybe I'm just going to respect it and give them a little bit less of that. But when I'm with my friends, like, yeah, we're getting trashy. We're getting dirty and all that jazz. And that's going to evoke more of that due to like more reinforcing settings. So just note like your audience can have stimulus control over like the types of verbal behavior that you emit. One other really cool thing to think about is thinking. When you're analyzing thinking, the behavior analytic perspective would say that thinking is just a verbal behavior, a verbal response where you are both the speaker and the audience. So kind of interesting, where it's like your thoughts are no different than any other verbal operant that occur. It's just occurring privately, so you are also the audience, and that can kind of create some weird things. So when we get into, we're not going to get into it. Let's skip that. But anyway, I think it's just interesting to think about your own thoughts as just environmental contingencies that are like affected by anything else. Yeah, for sure. Lillian's mentioning like another stimulus control example. So like her clients have stimulus control over her frequency of cussing as well, because like you wouldn't cuss around the kids. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of bad consequences associated with cussing around the kids. Like they're gonna echo that. Like the parents are gonna ask like, where'd you learn that? It's gonna be like, Miss Lillian taught me, and that's exactly what we want to avoid in our sessions for sure. All right. Let's talk about our operants now. So again, our verbal operants are behavioral contingencies reinforced by others. The most common consequence for our verbal operants is going to be this GCSR. This GCSR, it stands for generalized conditioned social reinforcement. You can think about this as like praise, approval, and or coherence of what is going on. So, like, for example, if I show you, like, this remote control, and I'd be like, hey, check out my new kitty cat. And you'd be like, Nick, this is not a kitty cat. I'd be like, oh. So that behavior is not receiving that generalized conditioned social reinforcement. But if I'm like, hey, check out my new remote control, you'd be like, yeah, okay, cool, that's a remote control, sweet. So it would get like that praise, approval, and or coherence. So that's how kind of verbal behavior is shaped across a community, is whether the environment is going to provide this generalized conditioned social reinforcement for their responses or not, whether these are accepted or not. Or if these like are cool, make sense, or approved. The only exception to this is going to be the mand. So the mand, instead of having this generalized conditioned social reinforcement, is going to have that very specific reinforcer. So it's going to be that item or stimulus that was requested for. Now, since most of our verbal operants have the same consequence, so they have this generalized conditioned social reinforcement, usually like when behavior analysis, we're really focusing on like that behavior consequence relationship. But since most of them are the same in verbal operants for the consequence, we're actually going to focus more on the relation between the antecedent and the behavior, which is what really makes these verbal operants different from each other. So let's go ahead. We're going to start with our elementary verbal operants. I'm going to go through the first one here just so you guys kind of see the format, but then I'll let you guys loose on the rest of them. But let's go ahead and label the ABC contingencies for each of these. So our mand, our antecedent, is going to be an establishing operation. So we have an EO present for a very specific reinforcer. Let's say that I have been talking for an hour and I haven't had any water. So that could be an establishing operation that makes water more reinforcing. A behavior would be like a request for the specific reinforcer. So I might just say like, hey, Lexi, my dog, go get me some water. And then the consequence would be receiving that specific reinforcer. So that's our mand. We have our antecedent again, EO. The behavior is the request for the specific reinforcer. And then we receive that specific reinforcer as our consequence. Let's go ahead and do our tact now. So if you could do our whole contingency at once, that would be awesome in your answer. So what is the antecedent for a tact? For the behavior, you could just put like what it is, or you could just put the operant as well. You could just put the operant there if you don't want to get too specific. And then what is the consequence for this one? Let's see that in chat. All right, Tamana coming out strong here. Cool, I'm liking it. Yeah, Janelle right on track. Some people are just saying like SD, like what kind of SD? You're saying like see the stimuli as the antecedent? Do you have to see it? Okay, some people saying non-verbal SD. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'm liking where we're going. Yeah, Lillian right on track. Yeah, you could smell it too. Good. Awesome. Loving the answers here. Let's go check this one out. So our TAC, this is going to be a nonverbal stimulus, is our antecedent. So this could be anything that you could sense. It could be a sight, it could be a smell, it could be a taste, it could be a feeling, it could be a sensation. The behavior would be a label of that stimulus. And then we have our generalized condition, social reinforcement, as our consequence. Awesome. Looks great. Let's move on to our interverbal now and do the same thing. So I like when people are getting more specific about what kind of stimulus it is. So not just any kind of SD, but a little bit more specific on like what the SDs are. Also, if you haven't yet, while we're here, just take a quick second and hit that like button. It does a ton to help the channel out. And it's absolutely free. It just takes a second. Cool. Yeah, I'm liking the answers coming out. Tamana is coming out fast and strong with these. Keep it up. Yeah, Jocelyn, you can drop that question mark. You're on track. Good. Yeah, there you go, Kira. Gabby, so close. Good. Yeah, Nikki, I love the examples there. Way to go. Perfect. Awesome job here, crew. Let's check this out. Our antecedent is going to be a verbal stimulus. So not necessarily a vocal stimulus. So not necessarily have to be a vocal with vocal cords. It could be verbal. So anything that communicates something. We have a related verbal response. Again, doesn't necessarily have to be vocal, but can be vocal. And we have GCSR as our consequence. Really nice job there, crew. Way to go. Let's talk about formal similarity and point-to-point correspondence. First of all, formal similarity, we are looking again at relations between the antecedent and the behavior. And what's also often mistaught about formal similarity, some people would think that if it has a vocal antecedent and a vocal response, that automatically has formal similarity since they're both like vocal responses. But formal similarity actually needs to be exactly the same. So formal similarity is only going to relate to our duplex where we are copying exactly what the antecedent is in the response. Yeah, Gabby's asking, so never seen an interverbal as a non-vocal. Could you give a response or give an example? So this would be like, mom says, dinner's at 6 o'clock, and then the son gives a thumbs up. So we have a vocal antecedent there, but it's just like a gestural response. All right, so again, highlighting with formal similarity, very often mistaught. These need to be exactly the same, not just being like the same modality. So it would be like, I say apple, you say apple, not I say apple, you say strawberry. That would not have formal similarity. All right, so formal similarity is going to apply to our duplex only. Let's talk about point-to-point correspondence. So this is, again, a relationship between our antecedent and our behavior, and we're looking at a meaningful and exact relationship between the stimulus and behavior. So we have this with our codex as well as our duplex. So obviously, if like I say apple, you say apple, like those two responses do match up exactly. But if I write down antecedent, then you look at this and then say antecedent, that would also have point-to-point correspondence, even though it's not the same response form, because the word antecedent has a direct and exact relationship with the vocal word antecedent. So the point-to-point correspondence does not need to be the same modality. Form of similarity needs to be the same modality and exactly the same. Point-to-point correspondence means that it just lines up exactly the same, but might be a different response modality. So it might be like a vocal and a written response, for example. All right, let's look into our duplics now. So nice way to remember our duplics is that we're duplicating our antecedent. And again, these have point-to-point correspondence and formal similarity. Let's go through echoic first. What's our antecedent behavior consequence for this one? I'm sure you guys have all messed with the echoics before. I know it's a lot of people will misunderstand that formal similarity, but honestly, like if you were thinking about it before as like just the same response form, like the same response modality, like you're not gonna lose a whole lot. This kind of blew my mind too. Like I found this at 2 years into test prep, and I was like, what? No way! It blew my mind. So trust me, like I passed the exam and didn't know it for like 2 years later, and it's wasn't a big deal. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, we'll go over that more with these examples too. All right. So yeah, a lot of people saying verbal SD here now. What do you think, verbal or vocal for echoic? Brianna. Recall that difference. Remember, vocal chords. Verbal is any communication. So which one here, vocal or verbal? There we go. Okay, so people switching their answers. Good. Yeah, right on track here, crew. Nice job. So this one, our echoic is going to have a vocal antecedent. The behavior is going to be a copy of that vocal antecedent. So again, something with your vocal cords. And the consequence is going to be our lovely GCSR, that praise, approval, acceptance, all that jazz. Cool. So yeah, be careful on that difference between vocal and verbal. Real careful. How about our mimetic? You might be a little bit less familiar with this one. So a mimetic, I think about it as like duplicating sign language. Or duplicating like a gestural verbal response. Tamana's got a quick question. Wife asked, "What did you do in the office?" Husband said, "Had lunch and a friend visited." Wife said, "Cool, great." What is the wife's response? So the first, like the wife asking the question, would probably be a man if she was actually interested in the information. The last response would just be like an introverbal. All right, yeah, a little bit less familiar on the mimetic. That's okay. This one is tricky. So let's go ahead and just review. A mimetic, this again is like copying a sign language or like a motor verbal action. So our antecedent is going to be a motor verbal stimulus. So I hand you a peace sign, and then the behavior is going to be a copy of that motor verbal stimulus. So then you hand me the peace sign back, and then I'm like, yeah, cool. I like nod my head because like cool. So it'd be a mimetic. Again, this could be like sign language, copying sign language, or it could be copying some other kind of gesture. So peace sign, bird, whatever. All right, how about copying text? Let's do the contingency for this one. You may not have heard of it, but it is pretty straightforward. I'll tell you that. So don't overthink it. You got it. Copying text. What are the ABCs? Nonverbal SD. We're talking about verbal behavior, not nonverbal behavior. All right, let's see. Yeah, Lillian right on track. Good, yeah, Janelle right on track. Tamana looks great. Kira looks great. Perfect. This is different than transcription. We'll get there. All right. Yeah, Tina Rune looks great. Gabby looks great. Good. So this one we're going to have a written stimulus as our antecedent. So it makes sense to copy text. You need to have some text. We'll copy that written stimulus. So we'll write down or type exactly what that is. And we'll have that generalized condition social reinforcement. Yep, those things match. Cool, we're good to go. So yeah, maybe a little bit less familiar. These two, honestly, are unlikely to be on the exam, so don't stress about them. But they are there if you want to learn them. All right, next up we have our codec. So again, these were all of our duplics. We were duplicating our antecedents. Now with our codecs, we're going to be decoding our antecedent. So these don't have formal similarity, but they do have point-to-point correspondence. So they will line up in that meaningful way, but there'll be different response forms from our antecedent to our behavior. So let's go for our textual first. Who wants to give this one a go? Lillian's asking a good question. Is a mimetic another word for motor imitation technically? And no, this would not be the same as motor imitation. Mimetic is specifically a motor verbal response where any imitation would be any motor response. So mimetic is specifically a motor action that communicates something. Where if like I just do 5 jumping jacks and you do 5 jumping jacks, like that doesn't necessarily communicate anything. We're just doing jumping jacks. All right, I'm liking the answers coming so far. Looking groovy. All right, yeah, Tamara looks great. Nikki looks great. Kira, awesome. Nice, Brianna. Yeah, this looks great. Yeah, examples for mimetic. I gave a couple, so it'd be like I give you a peace sign, then you give me the peace sign back. Or it could be like practicing new sign language too. So like doing like imitation training and like teaching like exact signs. I don't know sign language, so I'm not useful there. But any kind of like imitation of a verbal motor gesture. Like I flick you off, you flick me off. Cool, that's mimetic. All right, let's check this one out. So textual, really nice job here. We're going to have a written antecedent. The behavior is going to be reading the text. So we're going to read the exact same words with that point-to-point correspondence. And we have that generalized condition social reinforcement. So think about textual as kind of just like reading. We see written text, we read it, and we have that there. How about transcription? Yeah, we have a question here. Would augmented communication device be a mimetic? So it really depends, like how they're using it. There's not enough info. Like I mean, that's like asking like if voice is a man. Like we don't know. It's just like the form of the communication. We'd have to see more about the context. All right, we've got a big mix here, verbal and vocal. I think we are dead split right now. Think about it. Make a firm call. For antecedent, should that be verbal or vocal? We're still split on that one. All right, let's check this one out. This one, I believe it does need to be a vocal stimulus for transcription. Because if we're looking at any verbal, then we could possibly fall into the trap of like copying text. So a little bit different. So vocal stimulus is our correct antecedent. Transcription is writing down the words that you hear. And then we obviously have GCSR as our reinforcer. Cool. So yeah, careful on this one. This one is vocal stimulus. You hear it and then you write it down for transcription. Again, like often underestimated that difference between vocal and verbal. But make sure you're really tuned in on it. Remember, vocal is through vocal cords. Oh man, we've been at 24 likes for a while. Let's talk about listener responding. So listener responding is the one operant where we're looking a little bit more at audience behavior instead of just the speaker behavior. And boom, whoa, we hit 25 likes. Whoa, it just turns out that that is the trigger for a mock exam giveaway. So, oh, we're at 30 likes. That's even better. Wow, cool. Okay, so yeah, how about we give away a copy of the Beat the Beast mock exam? So please only participate in this if you are planning on taking this yourself. But what we'll do is we'll do a random number generator, 1 to 500. Whoever is closest is going to be the winner. So yeah, we'll start taking numbers right meow. If you want to participate, put a number in chat, 1 to 500. Just a heads up, on the Saturday stream, the Behavior Binge Bonanza, we tend to give away a little bit more stuff at those streams. I think we've done 2 now, and I think between the 2 streams we gave away like between $500 and $600 worth of stuff, which was pretty cool. So we'll probably give away a lot on Saturday, so like don't miss it. Don't miss it. It's gonna be really awesome. Okay, how about a few more seconds and then we'll pull our number. Only one number, please. I forgot to mention that. If you pull more than one number, you will be disqualified. Okay, let's go ahead and pull this sucker. Our number is 490. Let's see who is closest. Amy had 499, but she had way too many guesses, so that is disqualified. Who is our second highest number? Do we have Joyce at 450? Is it Joyce? I think it's gonna be Joyce. Yeah, all right, we're gonna give it to Joyce. Perfect. Yeah, Joyce, you are the winner. All you have to do is send me an email at that email address after the stream, and I'll get you hooked up with your mock exam. Oh, we're at 34 likes now. That's pretty good. I mean, if that number keeps going, maybe we'll give away another one. We'll see. Awesome. Congratulations, Joyce. Thanks for everyone being here. It definitely makes it more fun. We've got a crowd. So appreciate y'all. Let's go ahead and continue our presentation, and we'll keep on going. Sweet. Okay, so talking about listener responding, we're now looking more at like our audience behavior. Here's our definition. So responding to the verbal communication of another individual in a specific way. Our antecedent for listener responding is going to be a verbal instruction. Our behavior is following that instruction, and then our consequence is lovely GCSR. Cool. Jackie testing on Monday. Good luck. That's exciting. Okay. So yeah, listener responding, very important too. Here's like a quick example. So we have like SD touch ball. The student touches the ball, and then they get generalized reinforcement for that. Sweet. All right, what we're going to do now here is how the BCBA exam is going to try to trick you on verbal operant stuff. And then we are going to go over some questions that may or may not try to trick you. Cool. Bridget testing on the 20th. Good luck. We've had a ton of students passing. I think just this week in the Understanding Behaviors Power Preppers group, we've had like 3 or 4 students pass. So congratulations to all the new BCBAs. The new BCBAs are probably not here. They're probably off celebrating and doing whatever. Yeah, it's been awesome. Congrats to everyone, and good luck to everybody testing. It looks like we got a bunch of people testing in the next week or 2. Best of luck to y'all. Get it. It's going to be great. I know everybody calls it the beast, but honestly, I think if you're pretty prepared, it's not going to be that bad. If you're not prepared, it's going to be bad. But I think you've got a good chance. And yeah, just keep at it. Yay, I'm glad you're digging the feedback, Bridget, on the mock. Perfect. This presentation does not go over AutoClinic, but why don't we talk about that, since it's been I've gone over this presentation a few times and we haven't really hit on autoclinics. AutoClinic, this is essentially like a verbal operant that accentuates another verbal operant. So let me give you an example of that. Let's look at the sentence that the sky is blue. So that's a tack. It's a pretty confident tack. The sky is blue, sweet. But now let's look at a different sentence and say, I think the sky is blue. Now this has become a less confident tack. It's like, so we would say the words I think there have altered the power of the verbal operant. So I think has weakened the tact. So like, I think the sky is blue, and then you look up and it's like red and green. The I think there would be an autoclitic. You could also look at it as like a man, like in the case of a man. So like, hey, I would like a glass of water. Like it's a fairly like weaker man, but it's like, I need water this instant. Just like the tone and the extra words there would be part of the autoclitic that would make that man stronger than just like if it said like I need water. So that's autoclitic. Honestly, they're really confusing. They're not really that necessary for the exam. Honestly, I think there's like better things to worry about, but that's what it is. All right, let's talk about tricky stuff on the exam. Something ways that they're going to trick you is that they'll provide multiple verbal responses or speakers within the scenario. So make sure you stay really focused on which verbal response that they're talking about in the question, because they'll try to add multiple responses in there to kind of throw you off. You always want to focus on past history of the response, so not necessarily like the current moment. So if I said like I need water and I don't get water, that doesn't mean it's not a man. So the past history, like when I say I need water, like I usually get water. But even though it's not happening in this very moment, it's still a man, especially if it occurs under that same establishing operation. They might also throw you off with like weird antecedents. So that's why it's really important to get the vocal verbal down, because you need to think about like, hey, does this antecedent like need to be vocal, or could it be a wider range of things to choose this particular operant? So like an example of this might be like motor communication within an intraverbal frame. So we talked about like the like mom said like, hey, dinner's gonna be at 6 o'clock today, and then kid just gives a thumbs up. So they have the motor response, but it's occurring within that intraverbal frame. So look out for those kind of things. And again, like make sure that you are really clear on whether we're looking at vocal versus verbal. Other weird antecedents, like you might get like tacting like weird or abstract traits. So just like tacting like internal feelings. So watch out for things like that too. It can get a little tricky. Yeah. Yeah, Nikki's saying, I feel like in the test, a lot of verbal operant questions they put a lot of information before the antecedent to throw you off. Yeah, for sure. And that's why you like really just need to stay oriented on the question. This is like #1 tip for answering questions while on the BCBA exam. Just stay oriented to what it's actually asking about, and you're going to do so much better. I promise. No, you could attack abstract traits. I'm saying like you could like experience a feeling like I feel like I have butterflies in my stomachs, for example, and that would be attacked. Like it's a weird tact, and like there's not actually butterflies in my stomach. Like I didn't go on like some butterfly feasting contest. Like do people eat butterflies anywhere? But like I can say that, and it's tacting what I'm feeling, even though it's kind of inaccurate. But again, like thinking about the verbal community in your audience, like it could work just fine because people know what you mean when I say I have butterflies in my stomach. So my verbal community understands that. It's reinforced with the verbal community, so that response continues. It's reinforced, gets that GCSR. Boom! You guys like that connection? So yeah, weird antecedents like that, watch out for those. Another thing would be like disguised operants. This like looks like attacked, but it's actually a concealed man. Would be something to look out for. My favorite example of this is like, I mean, you guys all went to college. Since if you're here and you're like past working towards your BCBA exam, you ever like been at a party and you're like kind of hungry and you're like, hey, like that pizza smells really good. And it's like, oh, that's like a tact frame, right? It's like, you smell the pizza, you label the smell, then you get approval. Like somebody's like, yeah, it does smell really good. But it could also be a concealed man, like if they actually provide that piece of pizza and they're like, oh yeah, you want a slice? And if you have a history of like that behavior resulting in you want a slice and being offered a piece frequently, and then that would be a concealed man and not necessarily attacked. How do you know the difference? Tamana's asking. You don't. What I usually say is go for the stronger one. So if you notice that there is a man, you should select man because it's the strongest contingency, because it has a clear establishing operation and a clear specific reinforcer. But otherwise you don't. The best answer would be to select both if that's an option, but hopefully they won't throw you in that kind of situation. All right, let's get into our scenarios to wrap us up for the evening. This has been a lot of fun. First one, June grabs her dog's attention and says, "Come here." June's dog comes. What verbal operant did the dog display? Again, since we have some newbies here, if you can provide rationales for your answer, you're going to make your answer stick out a lot better and really be awesome. What I really mean, the most important part of that is that you're going to learn better because you actually thought it through, gave it a good shot, and you get the feedback, that punishment or reinforcement, whether you get it correct or incorrect. Your question is, tacting and manding more associated with stimulus generalization? Not really. I don't see how they're directly related at all. I see how they could be related, but don't necessarily have to. All right. Yeah, I'm loving the answers coming through. Cool. We got a few rationales. Yeah, Lillian. Good. Nice, Jackie. There you go, Nikki. Gabby, Janelle. All our superstars are killing it. Yeah, Roosevelt, awesome. Perfect, yeah, loving it. Good, Jocelyn. Good, Taylor. Good, Kira, Amy, Susan. Great. This one is going to be listener responding. So we are looking at the dog's verbal behavior. So they are responding to the instruction that the owner gave. So listener responding. Very cool. Let's check another one. Remy had to run to the bathroom during an important lecture. He asked his neighbor to see their notes real quick to write down. Which verbal operant best describes the writing of the notes? All right. The people with the rationales are killing it. Good. We got very nice Kira. Good Janelle. Good Natalie. Yeah, there you go, Natalie. Awesome. There you go, Lillian. Awesome. Yeah, Taurus. Good to see you here. Nice, Brianna. Perfect. Great. Loving it, crew. This one is going to be copying text. So copying text, we have our written antecedent and we have our written response. So that's going to be copying text. Those things are going to be exactly the same. Perfect. Nice job on that one. And just a note, transcription would be if he told him what to write down instead of just handing him his notes to write down. So transcription has to have that vocal antecedent instead of just the written. All right. Harold asks, want to play ball after school? Jimmy replies, I'm down. Let's do it. Which verbal operant best describes Jimmy's behavior? If you want to be really cool, which verbal operant describes Harold's behavior too? Put both answers and label them so I know. Cool. I'm liking the question. I'm liking the answers coming through. Yeah, Gabby killing it. Good, Lillian. Taylor's on it. Good. Yeah, nice, Tina. Good, Janelle. Nice, Jocelyn. Good. Nice, Lillian. Awesome. Loving all the responding. Yeah, there you go, Tiffany. Good. Nice, Matt. Yeah, I got them both there, Matt. Awesome. Janelle, you got rationale? It's tricky. Some people do better with going with their gut. Some people do better with logic. I always think like logic is never going to steer you wrong, and if it does, you can like correct the logic. I'm always a logic person. That's why I think that these rationales are so important. All right, let's check this one. We're looking at Jimmy's behavior. That is going to be an interverbal, so we are responding to the question. When we're looking at Harold's behavior, Harold's response is going to be a man. So he's seeking very specific information. Does Jimmy want to play ball after school? This is really crucial, pertinent. So this is going to be a man. It's he wants to know, and he receives the very specific reinforcer, very specific information. All right, let's check out another one. While stuck in Sandy's dome, SpongeBob croaks out, "Sandy, I need water." Sandy replies, "A wallet, a watch," and does not provide him water. Which verbal operant best describes SpongeBob's behavior? I felt like my croaking SpongeBob was on point there. Anybody else? Thank you. All right, yeah, looking good here, crew. Sweet. Loving the answers. Y'all are killing this one. Of course, you gotta do the voice. All right, looking really good here. This one is going to be a man. So even though SpongeBob did not receive water here, it did occur under that establishing operation. And he did engage in behavior that usually results in water, but did not in this instance. But nevertheless, it is still a man. We have some questions. With Sandy's being a echoic, I don't know. I mean, like, she's clearly trolling him. I don't know if that's an echoic. Wouldn't it not be a man since they didn't receive the water? See, that's what I was just tricking you guys about. It's is that do we have that in here? I thought we had that in here. Or it's like it has the past history of reinforcement, but it's not being reinforced in the current moment, but the past history is more important. All right, so yeah, this one is still a man because of that past history of reinforcement for this behavior. All right, I think we're caught up. Let's check our next one. Gary is texting while driving when another driver honks at him and flips him off. Gary puts his phone down and flips him off back. Which verbal operant best describes Gary flipping the driver off? Yeah, looking at Sandy's behavior, maybe an interverbal. I mean, it could also be a man like, hey, is this what you mean? It really depends. And that's the thing with a lot of verbal operants is that most verbal behavior has multiple operants. So you kind of want to look at like what is the most apparent or like strongest operant. Sometimes it's really hard to parse out, but we do the best we can. There definitely are wrong answers, but there might be more than one correct answer sometimes. All right, sweet. Cool. It looks like you guys maintained this from my lesson earlier. So this one is going to be a mimetic. So this is copying of a motor verbal action. So he gets flipped off, and then he flips the other guy off. So we had motor verbal antecedent, copying that antecedent, and then our GCSR is like, oh, you're pissed off too. So that's the best way to solve things. Let's just get more pissed off, and then everything gets fixed, right? All right, a behavior nerd hears an epic Skinner quote at the UB study hall. I wrote this a while ago. I keep forgetting this one's in here, but it's a good one. So this Skinner quote is, and what a strange discovery for a would-be tyrant that the only effective technique of control is unselfish. And of course, he's referring to reinforcement. And then he writes it down later. Which verbal operant best describes writing down the quote? All right, I'm liking the answers coming through. Great rationales, too. Great, Nicole. Yeah, there you go, Tiffany. Way to use your evidence. Good to know. Yeah, nice, Matt. All right, looking great here, crew. This one is going to be H transcription. So this one, he hears the quote, that's our antecedent, and the behavior is that he writes it down later. So that is going to most closely align with transcription. Excellent. All right, we've got one more here. While riding a roller coaster, Carla says, "I don't feel so good," and vomits on her friend sitting next to her. Getting off the ride, her friend says to Carla, "You need to figure this out, bitch." Carla finds them a shower and clean clothes, and then they continue riding more coasters. Which verbal operant best describes Carla's response on the roller coaster? We like to have fun in our examples sometimes. All right, I'm liking the answers here. Yeah, Kira looks great. Yeah, I like it, Gabby. Nice, Tamana. Good, Brianna. Nice. Here we go. Perfect, perfect. Looks great here, crew. We've got attacked here. So the nonverbal stimulus was the feeling, and then she labels it, "I don't feel so good." It seemed to be an accurate label because she shortly vomited shortly after that, which is not so great. But it seemed like everything worked out, and y'all nailed it. Way to stay focused on what operant we were talking about, and that is going to be our attacked here. All right. Last thing that we'll talk about is that with Skinner's verbal behavior, he wanted to explain like how new behavior is emerged, and he came up with stimulus equivalence training, which if you've been studying for a little while, I'm sure you're familiar with. But in modern day time, his theory is being expanded upon with a new theory called RFT, which stands for relational frame theory. And essentially what this is looking at is that there are different types of relationships other than things being equal to each other. And we can have the same kind of emergence of relationships with that given amount of information as well. So let's look at an example. So we know Miranda is faster than me, and I'm faster than Rupert. So these aren't just equal relationships. This is like a faster, slower relationship. So look at all the different relationships that could emerge from that. You could know that Rupert is slower than Miranda. You'd also know that since Miranda's faster than me, then I'm slower than her. Since I'm faster than Rupert, then we know that Miranda is also faster than Rupert. So we have our same kind of web and same kind of emergence of relationships, of verbal relations with the same ingredients. Just we're looking at different relationships other than equal relationships. And RFT is really cool. Like, this is absolutely groundbreaking stuff in my opinion. if this is for like super nerds, if you really want to like understand language, at a very microscopic level, this is a great text to read. Not an easy one, but really cool one. And there's some really cool therapies and technologies that are developing out of RFT theory as well. I know. Everybody's like, yeah, it's like giving me a headache. This is just the same as any stimulus. I mean, it's framed a little bit differently, but really this is just a stimulus equivalence triangle. If we were to pull this up here, then it would make a little bit more sense. But yeah, it's really cool stuff. Awesome. Well, that's gonna wrap us up for the evening. But before we go, why don't we do like one more giveaway? Like, I'm really impressed. We've got 40 people still here, and there's 43 likes on the video. I mean, I think we should probably give away another mock exam. What do you guys think? All right. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, Morgan's asking, first timer, off topic, where should you start with studying? Feel like bare minimum during courses? Yeah, I mean, I think the Understanding Behavior channel is a great place to start. I think like understanding basic contingencies is really crucial. What I need to do is like, I need to like edit some videos and just put like a string and be like, hey, like you are struggling with like everything, and just start here and watch all these videos through. So I think we'll have to do something like that soon. Yeah, a lot of people like the Pass the BCBA exam book. I think there's some things that are good in there. There's definitely some incorrect information in there too, so be really careful. Yeah, honestly, like it's hard to say. If you're still like in school, the best textbook that I think for a new student or like somebody newly learning behavior analysis or like wants to kind of like start over, it's Principles of Behavior by Malat. Does he have 2 L's? I think, yeah. Maybe 1 or 2 L's, I forget. Definitely 2 T's. But definitely look at Principles of Behavior by Malat. In my opinion, it's the best textbook to initially learn behavior analysis. It is so good. His textbook, it reads just like a normal book. It's not like so technical. Like he tells stories and gives you lots of examples and lets you see behavior everywhere. And that's how I got so good at this. So yeah, if I were to pick one book where like I just want to be a good behavior analyst, that's the book I would pick. Principles of Behavior. Yeah, Lillian, definitely get that book. It's sweet. All right, let's give away this mock exam so I don't keep you guys hanging for too long. Let's do number 1 to 500 again. And yeah, 1 to 500. Let's go. Let's see. Can I like zoom in here and like make it more suspenseful? Dun, dun, dun. Thanks so much for being here tonight, crew. This was a super fun stream. It was great to see a bunch of new faces. If you want to purchase any of the mock exams, we got a mini mock package and a full mock on the Understanding Behavior shop. They're great to check out. And if you want to just get a taste of the mock exams, you can go to this link, or taste of the mini mock exams at least. You can go to that link and try 2 of the mini mocks for free. All right. Sainto is going to be our last number. Let's get this out. 279. Let's see. I see a 250, 255, 272. That's pretty close. Tamana. I think Tamana is going to be our winner. Congratulations. And that's awesome because she was participating a lot tonight and absolutely killed it with so many rationales. So I'm glad it goes to somebody who participated really well. Send me an email, understandingbehaviorofficial@gmail.com, and I will send you your mock exam. Congratulations. Again, thank you guys so much for coming tonight. On Saturday, we are doing the Behavior Binge Bonanza, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. See you there. We'll be doing lots of giveaways, so yeah, hope to catch you there. I'm off today and tomorrow, so I might be a little bit slower on responding if you reach out, or sorry, tomorrow and Friday. So I might be a little bit slower on responding if you reach out, but things should be running smoothly, and hopefully there's no crazy fires. All right, thank you all. Have a great evening, and hope to catch you soon. Bye.